Hey, good morning, everybody. Listen, I want to talk about trusting God more than your fear. And oftentimes when I talk about this, people throw out a blanket statement that I see so often. Well, faith and fear are not the same. Fear is the absence of faith. And in fact, that is untrue. Stick with me for a second. Fear is faith in the wrong thing. It is absolute trust, faith, and certainty in yourself and in another thing to have more power over you than God has over your situation. That's what fear is. It is absolute faith in the opposite of what God's truth is. And so you need to learn to trust God more than your fear. Oftentimes we have relied on our fear to direct our footsteps and to tell us what choices to make. And we believe that our fear is truth, or we believe that our fear is wisdom, that our worry is wisdom. And we justify our fear and our worry of what other people might say about us or what they might do or what might happen as wisdom. And it is the absolute opposite of that. Trusting in God and putting your trust in Him to direct your footsteps is the absolute opposite of trusting in the feelings and emotions of fear, worry, and anxiety. Because you are putting your faith in those things by allowing them to control your choices and your actions. It's time to stop putting your faith and trust and bowing down and worshiping fear and worshiping anxiety and worshiping your feelings and emotions and start to trust God. Start to ask God, direct my footsteps. Trust that God knows everything. He has everything in control, and you don't need to control anything. You don't need to try to control what happens in the future or protect yourself against what might potentially happen. Trust Him to know everything and to direct your footsteps and to take care of things and release the need to have to control everything yourself. Release the need to allow your fear to dictate your choices. Give up the submission to fear. Stop submitting to fear's authority in your life. You have given the authority that God has in your life over to your fear, anxiety, and worry by putting your trust in it, by having faith in fear and anxiety. Fear is faith in the wrong thing. That is exactly what it is. It is trust, hope, and faith in your fear to protect you, to keep you safe. And you say, fear is my shepherd. Fear is my, that's literally what we're saying when we submit to fear. There's a great song by Katie Torwalt, Prophesy the Promise. She says, fear can go to hell and shame can go there too. I know whose I am, and I belong to you. Shame and fear are the absolute opposite of trusting in God. And yet I see so many people believe that they are trusting in God, and they allow fear and shame to dictate their lives. I've been a person that does this myself, by the way. And then we look to other people to take the place of God in our lives. And we look to certainty and what we can control in our lives. We look to trying to control outcomes and control things. The only thing that you can control is yourself. And sometimes when you don't have self-control, you have to say, God, give me strength where I don't. Stop trying to do it yourself. Stop trying to use your thoughts to control your thoughts. My wife told me that this morning. She's like, you're trying to use what got you there to try to get yourself back when you're supposed to just give it up and trust God to direct your footsteps. Stop trusting in your fear and trust in God more than your fear. And start walking into the destiny and the purpose and the plans that God has for you, putting one foot in front of the other. Stop letting the feelings of what might happen, the worry, and trying to protect yourself against what happened last time. Stop trying to protect yourself against what might happen or what they might say or what you believe a situation meant based on your fears, lies that it's telling you, the lies that fear is telling you. Fear never tells you the truth, by the way. It never does. Fear can go to hell, and shame can go there too. Fear is an emotion that keeps us safe. It tries to keep us safe. Don't get eaten by a bear or taken by a tiger or bitten by a snake. We have this in our lives, but we put fear into situations in our lives that we were never meant to, when we were meant to give our trust to God. It's not wisdom. Calling your fear and protecting yourself wisdom is a cop-out and a load of crap, my friends. Trust God more than you trust your fear. The wisdom that God gives is never fear. God is love, and perfect love casts out all fear. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your fear. And by the way, I was reading Sean Bolt's book, Breakthrough. Breakthrough is another name for God. When we trust in God, we can get past our fear. We can get past our worry. We don't need to be scared of what might happen or stay silent because of fear of what could happen. We trust that God has it in control. We trust that He knows the process, that He knows what's going on, that He will direct our footsteps, and we don't need to control everything. And we put more trust in God than we have faith in our fear. Stop putting your faith and trust in your fear in your life. And start walking towards your destiny. By the way, your destiny and God are in the same place. So it's walking into the embrace of the Father. Walking into the loving arms of God. That's all it is. We don't need to control things. We don't need to control other people. We don't need to play the victim. We don't need to be the savior of other people. We don't need to be the villain in a situation. This triangulation that goes on. We just need to trust God and let go of the need to try to control everything ourselves, and putting more faith in God than we do our fear to go after our destiny, the plans that He has. And now what does that require? Once we do that, we have to walk it out. This is the next step. We get so afraid to walk it out. Once you put your trust in God, you have to then put one foot in front of the other and walk it out. Otherwise, you're letting the fear control you. You're still putting faith in that fear if you're not putting one foot in front of the other. And it's okay if it's hard. It's okay if it's difficult. Stop trying to put so much faith in your fear and yourself and your patterns or the old patterns or your power you were never meant to carry that burden yourself. Let it go, put it at the cross, and trust God to direct your footsteps. Trust Him in the process. Stop trying to control things. I've heard so often, man, people say, well, it would be disobedience if I didn't control things. It's a misappropriated belief about what obedience means. Obedience is entering into rest. That's it. It's entering into a place of co-laboring. What does co-laboring mean? It's not effort. It's a lack of effort. You give up trying to do it on your own. And you operate with God with absolute trust and faith in Him. Instead of relying on your emotions or your limbic responses or your feelings to direct your footsteps. And you trust that He knows what's best for you. And in that, in Christ, All authority in heaven and on earth is given to us. The same authority that Jesus had, my friends. Stop putting your faith and trust in yourself, or in your fear, or in the situation, or in another person, or in the thing that you're afraid of. And start putting your faith and trust in the one that created you and that created everything. Trust God more than your fear. Put one foot in front of the other. And believe for the best. Hope for the best. Stop trying to control the outcome. Stop trying to protect yourself. And start putting one foot in front of the other and going after the plans and the destiny that God has for your life. With faith. Taking risk. Stepping out. Putting one foot in front of the other. What are you going to do? Like, we're waiting for something to make it okay for us to arrive at a point where we finally make it and arrive to where we can then walk in faith. We're waiting until our outside situations change for us to step out in faith. We're waiting for our fear to disappear. When God just says, no, trust me, that's it. Stop putting your trust in the feelings, the fear. Stop worshiping the feelings, the fear. Stop trusting in what you're feeling and start trusting in me. Stop trying to strive to control everything and trust me to take care of the rest. And you just do what I've asked you to do. That's it. That's all that God says to do. And you know what? When we make mistakes, it's also okay. We say, God, you know what? I didn't do the right thing. I'm going to get back on track. We don't need to pay penance or do a whole bunch of Hail Marys or whatever. You know what I'm saying? We just have to come back into faith and trust and put one foot in front of the other. Trust God more than your fear. Give fear a cease and desist notice. Say, fear, you have no more power over me. You have no more control over my life. You have no more ability to tell me what my choices are. You have no more authority to keep me silent anymore. You have no more power to dictate where I go and what I do, because I am trusting the one who made me, and I am going in the direction that God has planned for me, what I was made for, my purpose and my destiny. I'm no longer trusting in just what I feel. I'm trusting in what is greater than what I feel. Are you ready to trust God today? Are you ready to put faith and hope into Him more than you do your ability to control things? We have to make a decision, my friends. You have to make a choice and a decision. And if you're somebody who has never trusted in God before, if you've never done this before, I just want you to say, God, I give up the need to control. Say a prayer. I give up the need to control everything. And I trust in you, in my situation. And I believe in you. And I believe in the work that you did in Jesus on the cross. And I believe in the plans that you have for me. I believe in you. And I don't need to control everything. And say, God, I put my faith in you today, and start stepping into the destiny and the plans that God has for you. And if that's hard for you, that's the step of faith. That's the leap of faith right there, is just to say that, just to make that. Just to say that prayer. Say, God, I trust you. I believe in you. I believe in what I don't see. I believe in your son, Jesus. I believe in the work that he did. I believe in his death, burial, and resurrection being co-crucified, co-buried, and co-raised, a co-heir with Christ, a new creation. No longer the old version that I was born with, no longer the same as the patterns that I've lived my life, stepping into the destiny that you have prepared for me. And I put total faith in that. I don't need to do anything for that to happen. I don't need to control anything. I give up the control, the striving to enter into rest and co-labor with you into my destiny. And I believe that you are sovereign in my life. You direct my footsteps. And I don't need to control what happens. It's time to put your faith into action. Oftentimes we believe that our works then create faith. That if we do, then we become. No, it's being. You be by entering, by believing, by having faith. You give up the need to have to try to be, and you just are entering into that rest. And then the overflow of that is the actions that come. You know, people say faith without works is dead. The works come from the faith. It's not the other way around. You don't make the faith and you don't do the works and then the faith comes, my friends. That's a backwards way of looking at things. We have faith, and then the overflow from that, from the surrender, from the trusting, from the giving up the need to have to control things, the works come out of that. And greater works are prepared for you. Greater works will you do. Are you ready to trust in God today? Put your faith in Him more than your fear. Step out in faith into your destiny to go after what God has planned for you. Grow your life, everybody, and we'll talk soon.